8 years have passed since the changeling took over Shayla's body. Thankfully, I haven't seen it again since that day, but I foolproofed my house for when it does show up again. I have crushed up eggshells all up and down the walkway in the front and back, and there is ginger literally everywhere. You smell it as soon as you walk through the door. I even leave gingerbread cookies in every room. My parents have gotten used to it, but they still don't believe that the changeling is real. After that incident that occurred at the school, no one ever saw Shayla again either. Then a year later, I was sitting down having dinner with my family one night when a breaking news report comes on the local news station. The newscaster reports that an 8-year-old girl's body was discovered in the Bahamas. It was badly bloated because of the length of time that it spent submerged in the water. The body had been identified through dental records as that of an 8-year-old girl from Minnesota who went missing while on vacation in the Bahamas a year earlier. Her name is Shayla McIntyre. Dad turns off the television. I already had an idea that something awful had happened to her, but once it's actually confirmed, my heart sinks. The fork that I'm holding falls from my hand onto the plate, causing a clang sound to echo throughout the now silent kitchen. No one says a word, but I can feel my parents staring at me like they're waiting for me to say something. I remain sitting there in the same position with my head lowered so that they can't see my face. Tears flow from my eyes, but I don't make a sound. Shayla was my best friend. Well, besides Grandma when she was alive. She believed me when I told her what happened to my grandma. And I warned her about the changeling. I told her to be careful, and she promised me that she would. I wish I could have done something to protect her, I think to myself as my fingers glide across the buttons of my computer keyboard. I glance around my bedroom and my eyes come to rest on a photo taped to my mirror. It's of me and Shayla on the first day of 3rd grade. I'm 15 years old now, but I still think about her all of the time. What things would be like if she was still alive? I wonder if we'd even still be friends, or if we would have grown apart over time. Ever since that day when I discovered she was the changeling and sprayed her with the ginger ale, I've been a loner. No one wants to be friends with the loser who was last seen chasing and torturing a girl right before she disappears. An alert flashes across the computer screen, letting me know that I have received a new message. I click off of the page that I'm on and switch over to my email. I open the message and a huge grin spreads across my face. It's from my boyfriend Roger. Since everyone in my town thinks that I'm weird and a killer, I figured that the internet was the only way for me to meet someone that wasn't biased to the situation. I reached out to him and started talking to him because I thought that if I'm the one who does the picking, then the less likely it is that they will be the changeling. Roger's a little older than I am. He's 16 and I don't turn 16 for another 5 months. He lives in Iowa, and we met a little over a year ago on a gaming website. We're both video game fanatics. That's what initially attracted me to him. But he's also caring, funny, and he's a hard worker. He goes to school and even has a part-time job. And what I like best about him is that he's a good listener. I can talk to him about anything, and no matter what, he'll just sit there and listen, even if it takes hours for me to get it all out. I've even told him about what happened to my grandma when I was a little girl, and I've talked to him about Shayla too. After hearing about it for the first time, he sat there in complete silence for a few minutes, just letting it all sink in. He told me that he believed me. He says that he believes in all of that type of stuff that lots of other people don't think exist. I don't know if he's just saying that to be nice and he really thinks I'm crazy, or if he truly means it. Roger and I have been communicating through email, text, phone calls, and Skype for the past year. The only other person that I've told about the changeling is my friend Bethany. Unlike Roger, who I reached out to, Bethany started talking to me through the same gaming website. She has a lively personality that I immediately took to. She lives in Cali, and we've been friends for over 3 years now. She's never talked about meeting up or anything like that, so that gives me a sense of relief that she's not the changeling. But she doesn't like Roger. She's constantly saying mean things about him and warning me to be careful, saying that he's probably catfishing me. I think she's just jealous. Roger's told his mom about me, but I haven't told my parents about him yet. Well, they've caught me talking to him on numerous occasions and asked me who he was and how we knew each other, but all I've told them was that we're friends who met on a gaming website. They don't know that he's my boyfriend. After the changeling took over Shayla's body, it affected me so deeply that I became a recluse. I refused to leave the house, not even to return to school. My parents forced me to go for a while, but then the bullying got so bad that they had to enroll me in cyber school. Even to this day, I rarely leave the house. I mean, I go to church on Sundays to appease my parents, but other than that, I'm usually in my room playing video games or talking to Roger or Bethany whenever I'm not doing my schoolwork. And that about sums up my life for the past 8 years. I respond back to his message and then shut off the computer and climb into bed. Mom comes in a short while later to say goodnight. Dad's away for a few days on another business trip. Don't stay up too late. You know you have that math final exam tomorrow morning, she reminds me. I stay up for another hour watching the news. Then when a story about a teenage girl getting murdered by someone that she met up with from the internet comes on, I turn off the TV and try to get some sleep. I wake up the next morning to the sound of Mom screaming for me. I crawl out of bed and trudge downstairs to see what she wants. When I turn the corner and enter the kitchen, my heart begins to beat out of my chest. She made me breakfast. But Mom never cooks. She's horrible at it. Dad is always the one who cooks around here, and when he's out of town, I either cook for myself or we order in or go out to eat. She notices the look of uncertainty on my face and says, I know I don't usually do this, but I know how important it is that you do well on this test today. It's worth 10% of your grade, and you're not doing so great in math this year. Yes, Mom, I know that. There's no need to remind me. I cautiously walk over to the table and sit down. As she watches me, I pick up a half-cold waffle from my plate and nibble at it. Thanks, Mom, but I'm really not that hungry. I'll reheat them after I take a shower and get dressed, I tell her, tossing it back onto the plate. Okay, but make sure you eat something. She gives me a quick peck on the cheek and says goodbye. Once she's gone, I breathe a sigh of relief and head back upstairs to my room. I turn on my computer and am just about to log into my school's webpage when I see I have a new urgent message from Roger. I open it and it says that his mom just told him that she has to come to Minnesota to visit his uncle for a few days, and he only lives about an hour away from where I am. She's leaving today and will be in town tonight around 5 p.m. He says usually he wouldn't even go, but since I live so close, he really wants to come see me. Then he tells me that he already talked to his uncle and he's cool with letting him borrow his truck to drive out here to see me. I stare at the message in shock. I wasn't expecting that. I type back, I'm not sure that tonight will work for me. Then I press send. I was planning on telling my parents about Roger sometime in the near future. That way they wouldn't be completely shocked when he shows up on our doorstep one day. Because yeah, we have talked about one day meeting each other. He writes back, please, I really want to see you. A rush of nervousness and excitement run through me. I start to type, then contemplate and delete my message, then rewrite it again. Okay, I can't wait to see you either. Call me when you get to Minnesota and I'll text you my address. Sounds good, I can't wait to see you again, he replies. The message catches me off guard. Again? What does he mean by that? Then a moment later, another message comes through that says, whoops, typo. I meant to say I can't wait, see you soon, followed by a smile emoji. His explanation makes sense, but I can't help but wonder if he meant something else. The entire time I'm taking my math tests, I can't stop thinking about it. I debate whether or not I should just call him and tell him not to come. When I finally finish my test hours later, I call Bethany and tell her what's going on. Are you nuts? Why would you invite him to your house when you're going to be there all alone? You know nothing about him, except for what he chose to tell you. You need to meet him somewhere public, where it's crowded, and you need to test him to make sure that he's really who he says he is. I think about what Bethany said and start to realize that she's right. So instead, I decide to meet Roger at a burger joint in town that's always crowded. I text my mom to ask if it's alright if I go get dinner with a friend of mine. She questions who this friend is because to the best of her knowledge, I have none except for the few that I talk to online, and none of them live around here. I tell her that I met someone new who does live in the area and they want to meet up. She reluctantly agrees. I think she's just happy that I'm finally getting out of the house. But she tells me that she'll pick me up when she gets off of work and she wants to meet this so-called friend of mine. So I text Roger and tell him that there's a change of plans. I'm on my way out to go get something to eat, so he can just meet me at the restaurant instead, and I text him the address. Okay, but I thought you didn't like to leave the house, he answers. I don't reply. I just shove my phone into my pocket, then grab my purse and keys before I head out. I walk to the corner and catch the bus. I find an empty seat all the way in the back and sit down. The restaurant is only a few blocks from my house, so it doesn't take long to get there. I exit the bus, go inside, and get a booth way in the back. A little while later, an old red beat-up pickup truck pulls into the parking lot, and I spot Roger getting out of the driver's side. Then a second later, I receive a text from him. Before I reply, I admire him from afar. His midnight black curls bounce every time he moves. His dark brown eyes are framed by a pair of bushy eyebrows. He has prominent cheekbones and a well-defined nose and chin, which is obscured by a fuzzy thin beard. I answer back that I'm already here, and then he enters the restaurant. He spots me, waves, and then greets me with a smile. When he approaches the booth, there's a somewhat awkward moment between us. I smile back, but I stand there, expecting him to reach out and hug me or something. When he doesn't, I can't help but think maybe I made a mistake coming here. We sit down, and I pull out my bottle of orange ginger hand sanitizer. After squirting some into the palm of my hand, I hold it out toward Roger. Would you like some? He glances at the label on the bottle and laughs. Is this some kind of a test? I smile sheepishly as he holds out his hand and I squeeze the bottle. He rubs his hands together. Geez, did you have to give me so much? This stuff is really strong. Then he wipes the excess on his jeans. I breathe a sigh of relief once he passes the test. I quickly look over the menu and place my order. Roger doesn't order anything. He just sits across from me in the booth and watches me as I munch on my burger and fries. You sure you don't want anything? I ask him as I take a gulp of my milkshake. No, I'm good. I already got something to eat on the drive here. We get a chance to talk a little bit at the restaurant, but it's kind of hard to hear each other over the loud crowd. After I'm finished eating, I glance at my watch and tell him, my mom will be here to pick me up any minute, and she wants to meet you. His face lights up. You finally told your parents about me? Not exactly. They don't know you're my boyfriend, I admit. He pays the bill and then we head outside to wait for my mom. I can't believe I only get to see you tonight and then it's back to talking on the phone, he says sadly. Well, you said you don't leave until the day after tomorrow, right? He nods his head in agreement. So why don't we meet up again tomorrow, I suggest. I give him my address and we make plans to hang out at my house tomorrow. Right before my mom arrives, Roger surprises me when he gently lifts my chin and kisses me on the lips. When my mom pulls up, I introduce the two of them, then Roger leaves. You said you were meeting a new friend. Why didn't you tell me that Roger was in town, she asks. I just wanted to meet him in person first before I introduced him to you and Dad. Actually, we've been dating for nearly 8 months now, I blurt out. She stares at me with a look of surprise. Why didn't you tell me? I shrug my shoulders. Well, why don't you invite him over for dinner this weekend so that Dad can meet him, she suggests. He's only in town for one more day, I answer. Too bad. I'm sure Dad would have loved to meet him. Maybe next time, Mom says with a warm smile. When I get home, I rush to my bedroom and FaceTime Bethany. I tell her all about how the date went and how Roger passed the test. But she makes me start second-guessing myself when she tells me that one test is not enough. Her reasoning is that the changeling could have just gotten better at hiding itself over time. When you told me that he was coming, I sent you something in the mail. I overnighted it so that it'll get there in time. It's a body spray that has a special scent that I concocted. I looked it up and found out that changelings not only despise the smell of ginger, but also lemon, so I mixed the two of them together. Spray it all around the house right before he comes over tomorrow. I already told you he passed the test. And I told you that you can never be too careful, she warns. I get off of the phone and text Roger to let him know what a good time I had tonight. Then I think to myself that the only reason Bethany is acting so crazy about the whole thing has to be because she's jealous. The next morning, after my mom leaves for work, I straighten up the house and get ready for Roger to come over. The package that Bethany sent me arrives around 10 a.m. when the mailman delivers the mail. I spray some of the ginger lemon body spray that Bethany sent me on all of the doorknobs and all around the house. Around noon, there's a knock at the door. I open it and Roger steps inside. "Come on, didn't you already test me?" he says, clearing his throat as he gazes around the living room, obviously smelling the scent. It doesn't even smell like ginger. I can tell that he's annoyed. Just then, I remember that Bethany told me to FaceTime her when Roger got here. So I grab my phone and tell him that I want to introduce him to another friend of mine. Once she picks up, she immediately questions, "Well, did you do it yet?" "No, not yet." "Come on, what are you waiting for? Just spray him with it already." I turn the phone towards Roger and take a few steps in his direction. "Roger, this is my friend Bethany. Bethany, this is my boyfriend Roger. I know you two have heard a lot about each other, and we've all played games together, but now you can say that you have officially met." I turn around and stand in front of Roger, then he puts his head next to mine so that Bethany can see both of us in the camera. He places his arm around my shoulder, and a look of terror crosses Bethany's face. "Oh my God, look at his hand! The changeling must have gotten to him last night." I glance down to see that he has raised red bumps, kind of like hives, covering his entire hand. My heart drops. Now I'm 100% sure that Bethany was right. Roger is the changeling. I pull away from him and yank the body spray from my pocket, then spray it right in his face. Suddenly, he starts to back up away from me. He begins to gag and cough. "What in the hell are you doing?" he manages to choke out. I turn to run and he grips my arm tightly, causing me to drop my phone. Bethany's screams flood the tiny speaker. "His eyes! Abby, did you see his eyes? They just changed. I saw them. Don't let him hurt you. You have to defend yourself while you've got the chance." When a rush of adrenaline starts to pump through my veins, I open my mom's sewing drawer and pull out a pair of scissors. Then I stab them into Roger's arm. He pushes me away and I trip over the ottoman, then the scissors go flying out of my hands across the room. I crawl toward them, but Roger grabs a hold of my foot. I kick violently and manage to hit him in the face. Then I'm able to reach the scissors and plunge them into his neck. This thing is so strong, I think to myself. Why? Why? He gurgles as blood flows from his mouth. "I know you're the changeling. I sprayed the doorknob and your hand bubbled up, and then when I sprayed you in the face, you had a reaction. You can't fool me." The last words that leave his lips are, "I'm allergic," before his body goes limp. I fall to my knees and burst into tears. A moment later, I hear the sound of someone else crying. I forgot all about my phone. Oh my God, my friend. She just witnessed me killing this thing. She's probably worried about me since she can't see what's happening. I pick up the phone and turn the screen to face me. Bethany's head is lowered, but when she raises it, I'm stunned to see that she's not crying. She's actually laughing. "What in the hell is so funny? I just killed him." She continues to crack up with laughter. "You stupid girl. You just killed your boyfriend and I didn't even have to lift a finger." As soon as I hear that saying, "stupid girl," everything just clicks all at once, that this thing is the changeling and whatever it sent me in the mail caused Roger's reaction. And now that I'm thinking about it, the spray did have a lemon scent to it, and I remember Roger telling me a long time ago that he was allergic to citrus. I must have mentioned it to Bethany when I was bragging to her about Roger. Bethany continues, "I told you I'd make your life a living hell for what your family has done to me." I lower the phone for a second and think, no, it can't be. I've known this girl for years. There's no possible way. As she pulls out another phone, I question, "What are you doing?" "Oh, don't mind me. I just need to report a crime that I just witnessed." Then I watch in horror as Bethany places the phone up to her ear. "Yes, I'd like to report a murder." Don't forget to subscribe for new stories weekly. See you next time on
Nina's Nightmares.
Really? You're supposed to click the like button, not me. Ugh.